Hey, Dad, where are the, never mind, I think I found them. The different air tips over here on the left. Tell me that's not cool. Well, I need a new nozzle. Let me just go on the shelf and get one. That's cool. Chris's inventory is always going to be out of whack with me around here. I'm going to be messing it up for eternity. He's going to have to follow me around all the time, looking for what crap I'm pulling off the shelf. So let's see which one of these air nozzles works the best. So out of the, I think they have like 20 or maybe 30 different air type of air nozzles in Prevost. I've narrowed it down to four that you might want for different jobs. So we've got the plastic tip version. We put a Euro high flow plug on. We've got the metal tip version, which I probably won't recommend using on near the paint. These are the full handled versions. And then we have the pre-plugged or ready to roll. These are the OSHA, or this is an OSHA compliant. These are the S1 little stubbies. And then there's a metal. So you got plastic metal, full handle, short handle. So that. And my dad just reminded me, we got the long tip. This is probably what I'm going to use because I'm lazy. So, Cox hose reel. This was the first iteration, the first design, which, because I've got it 15 feet up, is a little slow. You kind of have to help it, because this was designed to use, these hose reels are designed to use at next to you, not at 15 feet up. And also I'm putting a much heavier hose on it. The ones back there have the new spring, which is more stout, which I set up in order to accept this bigger, thicker, heavier hose than what they come with standard. And then another thing that gets people, the question is that these power cord reels, they go in between. So this is what a normal easy coil operation looks like. The ones over there, the hose reels, the actual air hose reels goes up much quicker. So I probably over time may end up with something in between. The stoutness of the springs there versus the springs here in order to end up with a solution, the perfect solution. But right now, it's pretty darn good. So here's our fluid swivel. Swivels this way, so in all angles, so I'm completely fluid. So air is, compressed air is much less efficient than using a big, 530 CFM or 580 CFM leaf blower. But I don't have an ego, I don't have my ego here, so we're using this. So there's the longer tip. The other cool thing about this, check this out. So boom, pop it, release. If I tried to do that on a regular release or a regular non-safety coupler, first of all, you wouldn't even be able to push the button. You'd have to push back in order for it to release, but that's what's cool about these things. Then you got the little shorty. And then the OSHA compliant. OSHA compliant being, as my dad was telling me this, air shoots out the side, so you don't have as much force. Like if you got your hand stuck here, the air would go the other way, so it wouldn't kill you. But plastic is probably. So people ask me all the time about needing ear protection for the pneumatic polishers, which they're not as loud as you think. If I'm holding it here and my mic is right here, they're not as loud as you think. This is where you really need ear protection. So I'm kind of keeping it away from me so it's not as loud. Okay, let's put this up over here. Here's my flow meter. that I just got that I didn't use. Let me get some eraser. So now I'll finish the drying with prepping the wheels. You could use isopropyl alcohol. Again, if these were older wheels, you'd want to clay it, but we're not going to need to clay it because they're brand new. So I'm going to saturate it and then wipe it down with my wheel towel. Probably just get these as dry as I can. Normally I don't clean my tires, but I just want to get the water off of this. So I got a couple of sets of spacers to see what size I need. There's not a lot of definitive information about these cars. I'm sure somebody's right, but there's not. You know, a lot of times when you're modifying, you can go and you can find, you know, you find like, if you find 10 people that say something works, then you can kind of use that information. But the funny thing about car guys and modifications, a lot of times they'll just say it works when it really doesn't, like it rubs, but they just won't tell anybody. Not always, but I do find that happens at times. You don't want to admit, some people don't want to admit when they screw up and it's not working. Shoot, I mean, you guys have seen me try to install, you know, the 100-pound wheels on my Raptor and put it in the video. So I'm going to show you what works and what doesn't, even at the risk of looking like an idiot. So I got the 5 and 10 millimeter spacers in order to test out and see what works. Let's just grab our air gun and blow it a little bit more just to make sure. So if you're looking for a recommendation of one, it's this one. I don't have them in the store yet, but we have them. They're like 14 bucks or 13.40, 13.43 or something like that. All right, we're ready to roll. Okay, so when I do this stuff, I always put gloves on. A couple of reasons for that. One, you don't want to get this on your hands, and two, I think it's probably helpful that you don't get polish oils all over the darn wheels. Not polish oils, finger body oils. Not that I have clammy hands, but just to be safe. Let's blow it off from the side. Tell you, this is the cool part. On all 4 corners, I got power, I've got air. That's where it's at. I need some gloves that actually fit. They're a little small. One last wipe. Now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna lay this on its face behind us here. We're gonna coat the inside first. So, this is how I do it. You know, this is how I coat wheels. So you can do it however you want. But I'm just gonna show you my procedure using C5, you know, how I do it. So we got our coating, gonna make sure it's mixed. Take the top off. I've found that these stoppers do okay. Some people take these off. Now I'm gonna wipe the initial coating off of here. This is a brand new bottle, so we shouldn't have any crystallization. We shouldn't have any stuff that's built up. So we're okay on this bottle. But if you're reusing this, a good practice to have, push it, you know, do it away from you or anything that's important, and just blow it out. Make sure that you get all the crystallization off. Todd Cooperrider taught me that one. I can't take credit for it. So I'm gonna prime my applicator and I'm gonna put it on in a nice even fashion. Now, people that install coatings are always talking about even fashion. I mean, there's no like special procedures, just kind of lay it on. You can kind of tell that it's going on evenly. Now, these are satin black wheels. I don't know if you can see this here, but this will change it'll make it a little bit richer. It won't make it shinier. So if you're concerned about taking your satin or your matte type wheel finish, if you're concerned about it glossing it up, it really doesn't do that. None of the coatings I've found do that. What they do is just add a little bit of depth, a little bit of a little bit of enriching to it. So it will change the shade slightly, but after you have the coat on, you won't even notice the difference. So with your wheels and anything, anytime you're applying a coating, just keep it organized. You know, don't jump all over the place and then forget your spot. I also coat the backs as well here. Like putting more on doesn't help you. You know, it doesn't help you to just lay it on so thick that it just means you're going to be wiping it off and wasting expensive stuff. I'm going to hit this section here. Now I'm going to flip it over, do the front, and this is where organization matters. So I'm going to start on the M and go clockwise. And I'm going to work all the different cracks and crevices of the wheel. So you can see the amount of product that I'm putting on. It's not an insane laying it on super wet, but you can see it. You know, you can see the product going on. Another thing you can use, you could cut apart a sponge. I find that just using a suede applicator like this tends to work the best. I'm also going to get in here, hit the face. This is when I get really Bob Rossi on you here when I start. This is a little tree. Let's paint some happy little trees. So by the time I get this thing done, the stuff is flashed and is ready to remove. It doesn't explicitly say, you know, when to wipe it off. So I usually, by the time I get done with the face, I'm ready to wipe off the rear area, and then I can come back to the face. Usually I'm kind of in between cleaning wheels or drying wheels. I have some helpers here today. Dave's here helping me. He's out washing the wheels here, so we'll be able to be a little bit more efficient. So you can see I'm not adding tons and tons of product. I'm not just caking it on the applicator here. So we will do a second coat on these. I think that the layerability of this stuff is a bit overdone. So this C5 is layerable though, where like Crystal Serum Light is not. So you can layer this if you want to. I'm going to do 2 layers, but the main reason is, for me, I'm going to do that so that any spots that I missed, I'll catch on the flip side. Okay, so actually I'm going to let that flash, let that sit for another few minutes. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. There really isn't much to look for on C5, at least I haven't noticed it. So you just kind of play it by ear. I usually wait about 5 minutes or so and then wipe it off. Okay, we're now ready to wipe it off. It's been about 6 or 7 minutes. If you find that you waited too long and it doesn't come off, you can always try agitating with a little bit more product rather than resorting to polishing. This back section is quite a bit more porous, so you won't even really notice much of it coming off. The front, that's a little slicker, a little easier to notice. So these are inexpensive, like $240 GSM lower pile towels, which I'd recommend for wiping a coating off, because we're going to throw them away when we're done with them. So you can see it's kind of slicked over, oil slicked over, and we're just going to go and not wipe it aggressively, but go and get all the cracks and areas done. We're going to wait to dress the tires after the fact. So actually I should keep this organized and start at the M and work my way across. You know, and obviously a black wheel is a lot easier to see than a silver wheel. So you gotta make sure you level it out nicely. So the whole point of this is you put in this effort now, and you'll have to do less effort in the future in cleaning and drying. You know, water should blow off easier. Brake dust should come off easier. And your wheel should stay looking nicer for a longer period of time. So the idea that those that wouldn't put in this effort, that would say just go drive your car, well, my argument is now I can drive it and not have to worry about putting in some massive effort in cleaning it. Actually, my friend Freddie Tavares, the Tavares YouTube channel, he was watching me wash the GT3 RS the other day, and he said, you know, I'm always neglecting, and then I've got this 3-4 hour project to wash my car to make up for all the neglect. And he said, this took you like 20 minutes. He said, you know, I'm always under the impression that you're out here for hours and hours. And I said, well, no, all of the prep work, the idea behind putting in all that effort is so that you can drive the car, enjoy the car, and then clean up is easier, takes less time, less effort, and your car's looking nicer longer. But yeah, you're gonna have to do it more often. That routine maintenance is more critical. But then you get to enjoy a cleaner car and not have to spend 4 hours once a month cleaning it. Instead, I'm gonna spend 20 hours once a year cleaning it. And then I can spend, you know, an hour at a time keeping it looking really, really nice. Okay, so there's layer number one. We're gonna let this sit like all day. We've got a bunch of other projects I'm working on. So it's earlier in the morning, it's like 8:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, and we started this project. So now I'm gonna set this wheel aside and let it cure for 3, 4, 5 hours, and then I'm gonna come back and put another coat on. And I would suggest that if you're gonna do a second coat, in order to really get the benefit from it, from the second coat, let the first coat cure. So, you know, a smart thing to do would be, let's say you did this, came home on a Friday evening, you took your wheels off, or you got your new wheels and you coated them, let them sit till Saturday morning. Or if it's Saturday morning, you coat it in the morning, go do some other stuff, maybe go wash the car or work on some other project, and then come back, you know, 4 or 5 hours later and put the second coat on. You could probably go right to second coat in like an hour or so, but I think that you'll see some benefits from letting the product set up. So there's our first coated wheel. Doesn't really look any different, does it? That's what we want. We don't want it to look any different. We want it to look the same. It may have a slightly darker shade or darker sheen to it. Sheen is not the right word because it didn't gloss it up at all. But so I'll just set this up against the Sonic cabinets and come back and do a second coat later on, and we'll come back and show you that. So I'm going to work on the other wheels, and I guess I'll see you in about 5 hours, but in video time it'll be like that. See you in a few. All right, so the second coat goes on just like the first coat. And what you'll notice is it's quite a bit slicker, you know, or should feel slicker than it did before. We let this cure for, it's been about 3 hours. We went out and shot the video series for the Karchers. So, you know, gave it 3 to 4 hours of cure time on the first coat. And, you know, I don't know what the magic formula is on how long you should wait, but this seems fine to me. And then what I'm going to do after we coat and then, you know, wipe it off, by the time I get the 1M in here and set up and we put them on the car, then I'll dress the tires and we'll have some time for the, you know, the coating here to cure before I don't want to top it with PERL or hit, you know, accidentally hit PERL as I'm dressing the tires. So I usually wait to dress them. And then I'll just avoid driving the car for a little while. I'll probably leave it in here for a couple of days with the wheels on it, and then just avoid rain. And then I'll top it with bead maker after the first wash. And I'll just do a superficial topping of it. You know, I'm not super worried about getting in every square inch of the wheel. I think, I don't know if it's the right thing to do or not, but it seems to me I'm better off waiting to apply a polymer sealant to a silicon dioxide based coating. I'm better off waiting a little bit to do that. I don't know, it just seems right. I have zero empirical evidence behind that, other than it just seems like the right thing to do. Let this cure, let the solvents evaporate, dissipate, hopefully develop a solid bond, and then we can top it later. And that bead maker will become our sacrificial layer that we'll use as a drying aid going forward to maintain them. I already did the barrel inside there. So we'll, same procedure, we'll let this sit for 6, 7, 8 minutes. Basically what I'll do is I'll start the next wheel while this one is curing. And then then by the time I'm done with that wheel, then Dave can come over, or I'll come over and start wiping this off. Okay, so wipe off the process. Now, this is where using, you don't want to use a ton of product, because then you're going to mess up your towels. So I'm using 2 towels for this entire project. And as I wipe, I'm still noticing that again, it's not smearing it around; it's taking it off. So this is another reason why you don't want to use a ton of product. Now I just finished the last wheel here, and I ended up using the whole bottle. Pretty interesting. The second coat, I found that the barrels took a lot more product than they did before. So even though I had 2/3 of the bottle left, I used the whole thing here on this second coat. I don't know why that is, but it seemed like the barrels of the wheel took a lot more of the coating the second time than it did the first time. So if you had some really, really large truck wheels, I think now I'd probably buy a 30 milliliter bottle. If you've got anything like these, sports car type sized wheels, then I'd get the 15 mil bottle and just manage it. Because again, otherwise, I mean, maybe it's better for you to just buy the whole 30 mil and just use maybe you can use it a little less sparingly. But again, I'm able to get 2 coats out of a pretty wide wheels with a single 15 milliliter bottle. And if I rationed it a little bit more, I would have ended up with some left over. Before my thing dries, I'll coat these real quickly. Depending on your lighting, you may want to get some scan grip lights out, or a flashlight, or a Phoenix light, or something like that, and check for high spots. But we've got really good lighting here, so I don't have to worry about it as much. And I always want to avoid grabbing the wheel with my hand if I can. Just move them around by grabbing the tire. Okay, so what we'll do, I'll let these sit aside, and then I'm going to pull the 1M in here. I'll probably do the wheels. I'm going to do the wheel mounting as a different video. So maybe what I'll do, we'll grab it in the middle of that and show you the tire dressing part, which is obviously just spray some darn tire dressing on the thing and put it on. So it's not rocket science, but I like to wait a little while, because you generally end up, because I want to dress this part here, so I generally end up with some, a little bit of not overspray, but you know what I'm saying, where the product gets on the edge of the lip. All right, so wrapping up the project on our wheels, we've been probably an hour and a half to 2 hours since we finished coating it. Now I'm gonna put some PERL on. So what I do, I take my Race Glaze XL brush, I'm gonna spray a little bit on the brush after I get this moving. So I'm gonna spray a little bit on here and dress the tires like so. I don't know, I've just found that using this method versus the using it straight up that I've used for years, I just get a more satin looking finish, and I don't know, maybe I'm making it up, but I feel like it tends to last longer. So I put it on like so. And then I just take my wheel and tire towel, take the lower pile side, and just gently wipe the excess. And then if I do this, you know, every wash or every other wash or so, I maintain a nice looking, satin looking finish. And that's our total wheel cleaning process. So I'll probably wipe it one more time after I let it sit for a little while, but that's how you coat some wheels and protect the tire. So that's been my process for a number of years now. I mean, C5 is a newer product for me, but I think a 15 milliliter bottle, 2 coats. We'll top this with bead maker in a week or so, and hopefully our wheels will maintain a nice clean looking finish for a long time. So anyway, that's the process. You know, thanks for watching this one, and make sure to go check out the mounting of the wheels if you're interested in the 1M, and see what it looks like. So thanks for watching. As always, stay tuned for more crazy. Catch you soon. What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, foot to the floor.